Did you love Top Gun Maverick, except wish there was a car version? Well, now there is. Joe Kosinski has teamed up with Brad Pitt to bring you F1, the latest summer blockbuster, and we are reviewing it right here, right now on Spoiler Alert. Welcome back to Spoiler Alert. It's been a little while, and Evan and I have a new setup this time, so I hope you like it. But today,
comfy chairs,
I know, right? We've been kind of all rigid and uptight. We decided we wanted to get a little more casual.
I need to destroy my posture more.
We had to match Evan's swearing habits with our podcast setup, and so that's why we got a little more casual. But hopefully it doesn't keep degrading any lower than that. But man, Evan, what a wild ride it's been. Get here.
Of course, our main topic today, right? F1. But then recently we've seen Ballerina, How to Train Your Dragon just came out.
There's been a lot of movies that have come out just since we last reviewed Mission Impossible. And just for a lot of reasons, we haven't been able to get around to review all of them. But we have seen a lot of movies.
Yes, and I'm so happy about it.
So for everyone listening, before we get into our main topic today, which is F1, which, by the way, was one of my most anticipated movies of the year when we started off with that, and for good reason. It was worth every bit of anticipation.
And we'll get into why.
But before we get into that, Evan, let's talk a little bit about the movies that we have seen and our brief thoughts on them.
Yeah.
So why don't you kick us off with How to Train Your Dragon, which you saw a couple weeks ago.
And I was very, very happy with it. For anybody that hasn't seen it, this is the perfect depiction of making a live action movie. I forget the first name, but Deploy, the director, he mentioned to DreamWorks, he said, if you're going to be doing a live action movie, please let me do it. I know the heart and the soul that was poured into this movie, because he directed the live action one, the animated one, and he wanted to do the live action. He went in and made it almost a shot for shot. And yes, it doesn't have the same heart that the animated one did. And I understand that because you've seen the story. It's not the first time seeing it, right? You kind of know for the most part. But they went through, took all of the elements of the first movie and just made it into live action and put it into production. And they've made a ton of money off of it. So and I'm so happy. That's
tell me
exactly how it's supposed to be.
Your real thoughts. Do you feel like it was just a cash grab for a studio that's capitalizing on the live action?
Well, for me personally, that score sits with me deeply. It's a beautiful, beautiful score. And
right, John Powell. Yeah, he's a very talented composer.
You can agree on that. Those were a lot of the animated movies that I watched growing up, and of course, right, I loved them. Great music, but I felt as if the live action one focused a little bit more on Hiccup than it did on Toothless, and for a good reason. Because the animated one, you can see Toothless and you can see how cute and lovable and funny he is, right? Because you can animate and make things a lot more appealing and attractive.
You can capitalize on that opportunity to get all those products you're going to sell to all the kids, right?
Exactly. The toys and everything, right? That's more appealing. The live action one, right? You still have to make it appealing where you're kind of like, still see that this dragon, is kind of almost like a cat and an animal, but they had to focus a little bit more on watching and viewing Hiccup because of, right, the animation and the live action are two different worlds. Honestly, I was still in love with it. I was very happy. I knew exactly how the story was going to go. They kept to it, and I just kept sitting there like, hey, I know what's going to happen next. Are they going to do it? And they did. Are they going to do this next? And they did. There was maybe 2 or 3 small scenes in the entire movie they didn't include, maybe for a good reason. I don't think it was as good as the animated one, but it was a staple to say this is how a live action remake should be done. And that made me, I couldn't ask for anything better.
Evan's clearly, he's happy. He's happy. Yes. Another live action remake I reluctantly went to the theater to watch was Lilo and Stitch. So if you're into live action remakes, there was that. I don't think that's not a movie I'm ever going to go see of my own free will and choice, right? I mean, I shouldn't say that. That's not a movie
I would go see. That's not
a movie I would ever go see because I want to see it.
There would be no purpose to see it.
If you're going to go see it, a live action remake, the Lilo and Stitch wasn't bad. It's a good family movie. What can I say? I mean, Disney's all they've really put forth a lot lately is live action remakes. Some of them have been
sucked.
a lot more well received than others. I think a lot of people are liking Lilo and Stitch. I mean, like I said,
you were like, whatever.
It's like, it's not my movie, you know?
Yeah,
it wasn't made for me. I'm not really qualified to give an opinion on it because it's not made for me. What can I say? Let's talk Ballerina real quick before we get into F1. So I was going to say Fast and Furious
very
1.
Happy with.
Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, first off, right before we went into the movie, we both kind of talked about, like, God, like, come on. They're just throwing Ana de Armas, who is, hello, Anna, is gorgeous and stunning, into this dark universe.
Stunning and brave, right?
Stunning, brave, cunning, sexy. But they basically were just like, hey, here's a really attractive woman playing a lead role in a movie that we've only seen as this badass, dark, crazy, awesome man. And at first, right, I was kind of like, okay, they're just going to try and put her in this universe, make her more badass than the man. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole, aspect of that.
Be careful.
Controversy, but
just kidding.
They did a really good job at keeping things realistic, that she had to rely a lot more on like gadgets, weapons, and being smart than she could just like physical strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was a really good depiction from the director and the writer's eye of them saying, hey, we understand that she's not John Wick. She can't do the full martial arts skill that he can. So she's going to have to rely a little bit more on guns, gadgets, and destruction. And it did.
Right. Overall, I thought it wasn't a bad movie at all. I think that the ending sequence with the flamethrower was really cool. They had a little bit too much slow motion in it, and I think that really took the fire, no pun intended, out of it.
Yeah.
But
honestly, that tire kind of scene, I was like, okay, I could see where your budget went.
It was, yeah. I mean, you could definitely, and that's the thing is, like, there was a lot of it. I mean, it's an R movie, right? So the violence is going to be a little bit more over the top. But if you watch like the other John Wicks, the violence was, was violent. But this kind of felt a little more cartoony because it felt like a lot more of the violence felt, it was like it wasn't finished. Because in a lot of these movies, they do a lot of CGI blood, CGI type of violence because, so if you want to, you can get rid of it. You can cut it out so that you can make a PG-13 movie. But it just didn't look finished.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I still really enjoyed it, and I do give a lot of credit to Ana de Armas because she did a lot of
training.
Which, I mean, the whole John Wick series from Keanu Reeves in the first John Wick all the way up until this has all built around this type of martial arts style of fighting, right? Up close, they're grabbing, wrestling, hitting, knives and everything. And she did a really good job. And you can see that she did it herself, right? There's a very big difference of watching somebody in an actual fight compared to like a CGI fight.
That's true.
There is. So I gave her a lot of respect for that. Honestly, I think I gave it a pretty good, like, 7.5 or 8. I was pretty happy with it.
It wasn't bad. It was
still enjoyable.
If you want to go to the movie and see a fun action movie, I
thought it was cool. It's good. It's a great like $5 Tuesday type of thing. But
enough of average movies.
Let's talk above average.
Let's talk about what we've been waiting for. Now,
which I've never heard, by the way.
I have been waiting for this movie since I first heard it was announced. I had no idea anything about it. I just knew it was F1, starring Brad Pitt, directed by Joseph
Before we even heard that it was by Joseph, they mentioned that an F1 movie was in production like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
It's been in production for a while. Mm-hmm. But the thing that got me sold before I even saw any footage of this movie was just, okay, we got Joseph Kosinski coming from Top Gun Maverick, coming right off Top Gun Maverick.
Already love.
Who he's bringing with him Hans Zimmer, which is going to make for an incredible score. He's bringing with him Claudio Miranda, which is the cinematographer, the director of photography for...
And then, of course, their lead role, they're like, hey, let's get Brad Pitt.
Yeah, and then they cast an older Brad Pitt, essentially who's playing a very similar role to Tom Cruise as he is in Top Gun Maverick, because for all intents and purposes, this is Top Gun Maverick for racing.
It's just very in the plot points. It's very similar.
It follows a very similar kind of plot. Visually, it's very similar. And you could not just the fact that they were actually putting cameras into F1 cars, which in and of itself is incredible.
Seeing some of the behind the scenes of how the camera would be like, be driving at like 100 miles an hour, and you'd see just
it's insane.
I was like, that's so cool.
But it's not only that. I mean, even the poster itself. You go and you look at some of Top Gun's posters. It's very similar, just the aesthetic. Because the movie itself is very. It's a summer blockbuster. It's designed to be a summer blockbuster, and that's what it is. It's something that everybody and anybody can come in and enjoy and have a good time. And man, I had a good time.
Yeah.
Joseph Kosinski. I've been saying this for a number of years, but Joseph Kosinski, I think, is the most underrated director in Hollywood right now.
Well, we were talking about it earlier, and we were looking at all of his projects that he's done over the years.
Right, he hasn't done a lot,
like,
but he's done Tron Legacy, which I love. He did Oblivion, which was incredible.
Top
Gun Maverick.
Tron Legacy might be one of my top 3 movies of all time.
Tron Legacy is incredible.
It's beautiful,
but
so sad
he's done
back for
amazing.
Aries, but
an amazing. He has an amazing track record.
He does.
There's a couple movies of his I haven't seen, which I want to get around to.
Which one was it that we were talking
There's
about?
one that's called Only the Brave.
That was the firefighter one?
Yeah, it's a firefighter movie. But
you brought that up the other day, and I swear, like 3 minutes later, I saw a clip of it on Instagram, and I was like,
but
okay. So now I need to
my point is, this movie, there's a lot of love put into it. You can tell right from the start, there was a lot of love. There was a lot of talent that was utilized in this movie to make it something unique, because it really was. In the same sense that Top Gun Maverick was putting people into the cockpit of an F-18, F-14.
A real actual F-18.
They were putting people into the driver's seat of Formula One cars and letting them experience what it feels like. And it's incredible. It's worth every bit of it. So let's start, Evan, with some of your biggest pros for this movie. Some of the biggest reasons why you would tell people to go and see this movie.
Well, of course, right? For those who already know, I love Interstellar. So the fact that I got to hear Hans Zimmer's score back in it was fantastic. There was definitely, it kind of had its fair share of Hans Zimmer doing the score on some tracks. And then, right, there'd be scenes where it was this kind of fun American rock song.
Right, there's a lot of sound.
But that was kind of the point of the movie, because this sport, right, Sonny Hayes, the main character, was coming from literally winning a Daytona race. He's an American. He's washed up. They keep referring to him as like a cowboy, right, American guy. So having this kind of cool old American rock, and then the scenes like going, right, it's just very fitting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they did a really great job at correlating the sound with the scenes.
And it's not even just the music, it's the sound design.
I agree.
The sound design of this movie really...
More music for me, because I enjoyed listening to...
Oh yeah, the music was incredible. But one of my things I would say...
I mean, it's a perfect movie.
I would absolutely 100% recommend, not even recommend, tell you if you're going to see this movie, absolutely see it in an IMAX theater, see it in a Dolby Atmos theater, see it in the loudest theater you can. I prefer IMAX because you have that expanded aspect ratio. I'm just thinking of the
specific scene, and I think it was more, it was a little over halfway in the movie, and it gave us a first person POV of Brad Pitt driving, but it was 2 whole minutes, no stops, no cuts, no nothing, of him just driving. Like it was perfect, because it wasn't like cutting in between scenes, like it looked like it was mashed together. It was just one set motion of like 2 to 3 minutes of him actually driving around the track, racing, passing people. And I was like, you could feel that you were there because of the IMAX screen, and I was so happy with that.
Yeah,
that's
so
one of my pros. But
look, just pay the extra few bucks, see this on the biggest screen you can.
It's like $2 to $3,
and it will be absolutely worth it.
It really was. I was very happy with it.
I don't even know where to start with this movie. That like every aspect of it was so well made. Every part of it was,
and really the only thing that I mean, we'll go through all of the things that we like, because we can spend hours talking about that. But the only thing that I didn't really enjoy...
Maybe that's the best part to start. Let's start with the cons, because there's only a few.
Maybe 1 or 2 things...
Give it to me. What is it?
...that I can think of. The only thing that I could really say... I mean, like, yes, there was a lot of heart in it, but I didn't feel as connected to Brad Pitt as I was maybe hoping to. That's really it. I don't really have any other reason to that. I just didn't feel as emotionally attached. I had a lot more fun watching it than I did seeing his success story. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I had more fun just watching the cars, hearing the sounds, watching the music, than like seeing this guy rise to getting to that first place spot and helping this team and blah, 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 blah.
No, I can see where you're coming from, because if you compare with like Top Gun Maverick, and I get that Top Gun Maverick was a sequel, but
right, so you could kind of relate to the
But even just for someone who had never even seen Top Gun, watching Top Gun Maverick, you can still...
Yeah, I was so surprised by that.
You can still... Okay, so I had seen Top Gun the day before I saw Top Gun Maverick.
Son of a
But it didn't really have an emotional connection to me. But when you watch Top Gun Maverick, even if you've never seen Top Gun, you can still have that emotional connection with Maverick and with Rooster, just knowing their connected history.
That was the only deduction from this movie. That's the only thing that I can think
I will say that I think, like there were some parts where the dialogue was a little
iffy.
It was a little iffy,
like
but
with,
it's
when they're in Vegas on the rooftop. Is her name? I think the actress's name is Kate. I forget what her name is.
Carrie. Close.
When Carrie and Brad are on the rooftop having their conversation, I felt like they just got into too much dialogue, just a little too much, that like they could have kept it really brief and light and still showed that like he does have a heart, he cares and why he's there and everything. But I felt like they grew on it a little too much, where there was one scene specifically and it was like a whole minute and a half of just watching Brad Pitt talk. Sure, it was about his dialogue, but that was probably the only other part that I was like, that was a little too much.
As well, I think the ending dragged just a little bit. Like not after after they win the race. Yeah. They're just, I think they could have trimmed it down a little bit. Because like, again, not that we should compare this to Top Gun Maverick, but it's very similar just in its structure.
Well, I mean, if you're going to take specific sections of each movie and compare them side by side, they're very similar on how the progressions.
They are. And so, again, you look at the ending of Top Gun Maverick, they do what they need. They complete the mission. They get in a dogfight. They defeat the last fighter. They land on the carrier. Everybody celebrates, and then the movie's essentially over. You have one more scene of Maverick meeting up with Penny, and they fly into the end credits.
Yeah.
And so it's a very quick ending. And I guess what I'm saying is there's certain parts of this movie where it can feel like it goes on just a little too long, because this movie is 2 hours and 35 minutes. It's a long movie. And you
feel it. I mean, not to say that it was like it's going to drag, but
it's well paced, but there's certain parts where it
you're
drags
sitting there,
like,
this is a good long movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I would say pacing would probably be the best way to phrase it. Right, you're sitting there for 2.5 hours, and there's some movies that I could sit there for 2.5 hours, and it goes by super, super quick, or it takes forever. And this one went at a really good pace.
It is very well paced. There's just a couple little parts that I think.
Yes, I was pretty happy with that.
But honestly, those are really my only cons of this movie.
That's it. That's all I got to. I can't really think of much.
The way they put you into the seat of a Formula One car was just absolutely incredible.
So cool.
The camera angles they used by actually giving you like an up close road view, you felt like you were in the Formula One car going 200 miles an hour.
All the sounds, looking at all the tech of it, hearing the car, like they really did the best job at creating the best experience of letting the viewer feel and almost be there.
Absolutely. And to go along with that, the cinematography in this movie is gorgeous. Just like with Top Gun Maverick, it's not even just in the action sequences or when you're in the Formula One car, but even just the softer character moments. The cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. Just like every shot is just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the combination of Joseph Kosinski and Claudia Miranda, or if it's just one or the other.
Maybe
but
a little bit, but
when those two get together, because like they did Oblivion as well. They did the cinematography for Oblivion. I believe they did for Tron Legacy as well. And the cinematography on these four movies it's incredible. It's some of the best cinematography I've ever seen, along there with like the Batman. But
which, not to backtrack, as of today of filming, Matt Reeves has officially submitted the script.
About time, bro. It took 3 years.
It's been. Was it 2022?
March 22 is when that movie came out. So it's been 3 years, over 3 years. You know what? It's okay though. I think it's going to be great. We'll
from
see
what it
happens.
Sounds like, Matt Reeves is going to take his time.
Mm-hmm.
Going to make a.
I mean, that's honestly better than pushing it through for the sake of just getting money. So we'll see how that.
Yeah,
how that
I don't
plays
think
out.
I don't think that the DCU is going to let this movie just try and be a money grab because of how.
I mean, we'll see.
If they do, I
hope not.
If they do, I give up. I'm already giving up with Superman.
Yeah, screw that movie. Let's talk about Fast. I keep saying Fast 1 because F1 and F9. This could have been the title of a Fast and Furious movie.
I love. Speaking of, Brad Pitt and characters and everything. His character development was great.
Yeah.
Seeing him go from kind of this, a great way that I described it is a good way of looking at like a jackass, right? He was very stubborn, uptight, pretty cocky, just like walking through and was like, whatever I want, I don't care, I'll just leave. And then he starts to kind of open up a little bit, and you see the humble side of things where he wants to be this coach, he wants to be this leader, and he wants to, you know, help out, and how much he sacrificed and everything. And seeing his character development.
It plays very well with Joshua Pierce, the rookie driver. The character dynamic and the chemistry with Sonny Hayes and Joshua Pierce is it's so well done, and it's so well done in the way that they're written, because here you have Sonny Hayes, who's, you know, this very uptight kind of lone wolf type of guy who has a long history of racing, who's very kind of serious. But then you have Joshua Pierce, who's a lot more lighthearted about it, thinks he's the best. He's very cocky. He's all about the you know, the media coverage and the likes and the followers and kind of that side of things. And it really shows the dynamic between old and young athletes. Is, you know, older athletes seem to be a lot more focused on performance, on winning, on that sort of thing, whereas the younger guys are a lot more, you know, it's about the money, it's about the deals, it's about the media. And I thought that they did
a really good depiction, especially in our world, right? A lot of these, I don't know how the F1 drivers actually act, like outside of literally racing, but they did a really good depiction of showing this younger generation who's in a really, really wealthy place, that he's out, you know, always on social media, he's posting, he's smiling, he's with the press, and he's happy. And Brad Pitt's character is like, why are you so worried about this? Like, you've got to put your head in this ass, not somebody else's, right? Like, he was trying to become this more mentor and everything. And the character development of all of the characters, from Kate to, why do I keep forgetting his name? Ruben. No, but the actor.
Oh, Javier Bardem.
Thank you. Javier's character, right? Just seeing all of them grow and how they did through the movie. I love Javier.
I also
He's so good.
Really like the way that it shows, like if you compare this movie with, say, 4v Ferrari, right? Where they're at Daytona, the Daytona race. Even though Daytona seems to be a lot more of a team sport, right, where you're switching out drivers for a 24-hour race, I think this movie did a lot better job of showing a team sport, right? Because
I mean, F1 is a lot more.
It is a team sport, absolutely. But I think it did a better job of showing that. Of, even though, you know, Brad Pitt's driving his own car, he's his own person, and same with Joshua Pierce. He's driving his own car, his own person. It showed a lot more of how they have to work together, both with them and with their pit crew, in order to actually win races. And it shows that controversy
through the whole movie of them kind of arguing, bickering with each other, disagreeing, and then finally you kind of start to see that they slowly start to be like, hey, you did good out there, JP. And then they finally smile, or like, hey, I'll help you out this time, right? And then they start to slowly become into this team, right? That's what it ultimately is. And they talk about that a lot, right? F1 is a team sport, and that's why it's such a connection, because you're taking somebody who wants to be a part of the team, who's really young, talented, who's great, and Brad Pitt's character, who's just like, I'm literally just here to race the car. He doesn't care. But then he has to learn to show that passion and to care.
And ultimately, at its core, even though this movie is an incredible action movie as far as what was accomplished, both on a technical scale and just on a entertainment scale, this movie is very much a character-driven movie, just like how Top Gun Maverick was, where it really is driven by Sonny Hayes. Top Gun Maverick really was driven by Maverick and his history. Yeah. And even though there's so much spectacle with it, there's so much entertainment to be found within the action, what I love is just the quiet moments between the characters, both with this and with Top Gun Maverick, where it just shows the clash they're having. It shows the clash they're having internally, and then how it ultimately resolves throughout the movie. And again, just kind of like with Top Gun Maverick, is there's not really an antagonist in the movie.
It's just kind of,
there's internal conflict that has to be resolved, and that creates we
see a little bit of an antagonist at the very end,
right,
with whatever the guy on the board was that was trying to sabotage it, but he makes a little bit of an appearance really briefly through.
Right.
And I did kind of like that, where it's not this regular good versus evil, good triumphs evil story. It was they're doing more on that storytelling aspect instead of following a similar script that we've seen of he comes in, they turn JP into the bad guy, and now he's got to beat him, and we of course know good will triumph evil after evil beats him the first time, blah blah blah. And I really love that they focused on just telling more of a depictive story,
which is really why
anything.
I think among the many reasons, like we talked about, why we draw the comparisons to Top Gun Maverick is because it's just a very similar dynamic.
It really is,
and it's a very similar concept. And it uses the same formula, but the formula freaking works because
it does.
This movie and Top Gun Maverick are in my opinion, two of the best movies I've ever seen. They are incredible, and the formula works.
I'll agree to disagree. I don't think Top Gun has as emotional of a connection to me as it does to you, but they're both to the exact same scale. Like as far as like score, like to me, which they're both crazy high.
They're both crazy high for me.
Yeah,
I can't say enough good things about this movie. I would 100% recommend anybody to go see this movie. And again, see it on the biggest and loudest. Yeah, see it in IMAX. Definitely see it in IMAX.
You have to see it in IMAX.
That expanded aspect ratio makes it all worth it. Just the floor to ceiling screen, so big, so loud,
so beautiful.
And for all of those who out there who are going to go see a movie, remember to shut up in the theater, please. For the love of everything about movies, when the lights go down, stop talking. Just shut up.
Turn your phone off. Shut the hell up, and please.
If I ever see you in a movie theater, if I ever see anybody here's the thing about movies. When it comes to watching movies in a theater, there's no such thing as friends and family. There are those who don't talk and those who do.
Yeah.
And if I ever hear anybody talking during a movie in a theater, I will tell you to shut up. Because I have
very few movies with very few scenes that you can look over and be like, "What? Did you see that?" And you can talk for like a brief 5 seconds and then get back to the movie because it was so intense, so cool. Or scary.
It's frustrating because theater.
Would you like to share what happened? Because I feel like you're leading up to what happened.
I am,
but I don't know if you want to talk.
There we are, sitting watching F1, this beautiful movie, and these two guys behind us just keep talking. They're not even trying to talk quiet. They are talking loud.
Yeah.
And so there comes a point where it's a quiet part of the movie, and I turn around, I'm like, "Look, can you guys please shut up?"
Yeah.
And they didn't talk for the rest of the movie.
It was really funny because there was a bunch of people all next to us, and they all kind of like just looked over. Sorry, They all looked over and like, oh, shit.
I don't know if
if
they were scared of me. I don't care. But look, if you're
I don't think that they were scared of you. I think that they were actually like, oh shit, my bad. Like, oh sorry.
I don't know what it is, but that's the third time now in the past. That's the third time in the past 6 months I've had to do that at a movie theater.
Yeah,
and it's not because I'm some freaking Nazi Karen, okay?
Well, but we went to.
It's because
some lady in front of us was on
Captain America,
Amazon, and I was like, "Bro, you can't."
And then the two ladies that were right over here just got up and said, "Hey, get off your phone."
Yeah, and we looked over, and I was like, "Thank you," and I handed them I think a piece of pizza or like my popcorn. Was like, "Please, you can have some."
All I'm saying is, stop. Just please, if you're gonna go watch a movie, just shut up for 2 hours. That's all you have to do. It's not that hard.
Especially if it's a new movie nobody's seen.
Exactly.
If it was a great example is, let's say we went and rewatched Thunderbolts for the second time, or it's been out for a week or whatever.
Even then, just
I
don't
have
talk.
Some consideration, but even then,
my only considerations is if we go to a movie like I did this last week. I went to Lilo and Stitch. Okay, that movie's gonna be filled with kids and families. It's been out for a month.
You're invoking that.
So chaos. I don't care as much.
Chaos.
But a movie like F1 where you're adults, you're going there, just shut up and watch the movie. Look, everybody who's been sitting in that theater is paid to be there. So for the heaven's sake, just be courteous. Okay, just have a little courtesy. Just stop talking and watch the movie.
Some people just like to watch the world burn.
Now that we're past that rant, F1 is an incredible movie. Let's talk about our ratings, how we rate this movie.
I think that we both gave it the exact same score because I am deeply in love with this movie.
I was so happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah.
This movie, before we get into it, just a quick reminder of our scale.
Haven't updated
we haven't updated these in a long time. I have had a 1 star as Argyle. What a horrible movie. At a 5 star, I have Tomorrow Never Dies.
The most disrespectful
a very average Bond movie.
Henry Cavill.
I know. Poor guy. And then
I do.
Out of 10 star Top Gun Maverick, which is why I've been praising it so much even in this review. And Evan, just give us
I think
very
mine's
briefly.
still the same. Damn it. Dial of Destiny,
Hasn't
Fast
changed.
Action, Interstellar. I should probably, because there's more than just Interstellar that I'm like wickedly addicted to.
Yeah, there's you could throw Star Wars 3 up there for you. That's probably a 10 star for you, right?
I could throw Legacy. Tron Legacy.
Yeah, Tron Legacy is
there's a few movies that I could probably put up there. We'll change it for next week. I promise.
That
for
said,
the 2 people that give a shit.
Let's talk about our reviews for F1.
We had the exact same score, I believe.
We did.
And
we
I
both
only
gave this movie
that half point
a 9.5
because of the emotional aspect, but that was only because, right, we don't get to see a lot of that past of Sonny Hayes.
I think
that's it.
I don't have a lot of 10 movies, right? I have Mission Impossible, Fallout, Top Gun Maverick as 10 movies.
There's a lot in the 8s to 9s that you're okay. I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
it was
but
fun,
the reason why I don't give this movie a perfect 10 is because if I look at a movie like Top Gun Maverick, that movie is perfect start to finish. This movie's almost perfect from start to finish, but Top Gun Maverick just has a few of those scenes where you're like, holy cow, this is why.
You a little bit more.
Yeah, just like the ending sequence when they land on the carrier and the music's blaring, it just you feel like so emotionally connected that they resolve this conflict between them. They work together. Or when Maverick steals the jet and does his run, he shows these new recruits that you can actually do this canyon run in less than 2.5 minutes or whatever it is.
Yep.
So there's just those sequences
in F1 similar to that, but they
just didn't have as much.
They didn't have that grasp.
Yeah, they weren't as powerful, which is why I didn't give this movie a perfect 10.
100%.
Because on a filmmaking and technical standpoint, this movie is a 10.
Yeah.
But there's just there's a few of those holy cow moments that just weren't quite there, which is why I give it 9.5.
There were still definitely a few, like I mentioned, it was that full 2 to 3 minute scene of you just watching Brad Pitt fly through 2 laps, cruising, and it was him going that 190 miles an hour. I think he said he had 197 was the fastest he went in it.
It's insane.
But it was so cool because, right, as a viewer, you sit there and you're like, this was real. More than you already knew it was. You're like, this was him going through the motions, being in that car, literally hauling ass.
But yeah, all that said, it's a great movie, almost a perfect 10. But like I said, I mean, just Top Gun Maverick to me is a perfect movie, and there's there's pieces of it that are like just blow your socks off. We're gonna have to review that at some point. We really do.
I think just for fun,
we do. I mean, I just like that movie, the opening with the Dark Star. I remember sitting,
so cool,
going to an IMAX theater, going to an IMAX theater. And sitting there, the moment that
but rewatching it in the theater is going to be hard. We'd have to watch it at home.
But the moment that Maverick drives up to the test site
on his bike,
and then they said that we're shutting the program down, and he's like, "Well, he's not here yet." And it starts the music. I'm like, "Holy cow, this movie's going to be good. This movie's going to be so good."
Very, very fun. Anyway,
and honestly, this movie is very similar to that because the moment that Brad Pitt wakes up at the beginning and you see him go and get ready to race in the Daytona race.
I think it is kind of nice how you see Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. They're both specialists in their own kind of ways, but they're both very similar actors where you just naturally gravitate to them.
They have a lot of charisma, but that's one thing about modern Hollywood that a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of younger actors don't have that. And that's the reason why a lot are very disliked, because here's the thing about characters is you can write a character that is crappy, that it treats everybody like trash, that it's kind of a dirtbag, but if they're played by an actor who has the charisma necessary, everybody will love them.
Should we bring up Henry Cavill?
Well, yeah, Henry Cavill is one of them, where you have no reason to like Henry Cavill in Fallout. You have no reason to like to enjoy his character, because when he turns out to be a villain, you're like, this guy's terrible.
What the hell?
But it's freaking Henry Cavill. He has all the charisma that you could ever want.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Brad Pitt, with Tom Cruise. These guys have a lot of charisma. I would say even Chris Pratt is in that same boat.
I would say that
where Chris Pratt has a lot of charisma to where it doesn't really matter how his character is written so much.
I would say Leonardo DiCaprio up to a certain point was in that category.
Yeah. I don't know that he is anymore, but
I would say his last really good one was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a great Tarantino film if you haven't seen it already.
But
anyway,
that's the thing, and that's not saying that these characters weren't well written, because they were. Sonny Hayes was well written, but yeah, he has that charisma that makes you gravitate towards him and makes you want to watch him.
Yeah.
Now, how do our ratings hold up to the rest of the critical world. Well, IMDb has it as a 7.9.
They're a little bit more critical.
I think that's low. I agree. I think that's very low for a movie like this. I think IMDb
even gave Maverick a pretty high score too.
Well, I mean, Maverick was only like an 8.2, which Maverick
IMDb is a bit more critical. I do agree with them a lot of the time. This is probably one of them that I'm not.
And then Rotten Tomatoes was a lot lower too. It's only at 84%.
Rotten Tomatoes is always such a bum. Well, they gave, I don't know. What was it that was like right out of the gate? They were like, it's a 99%. And I was like, yeah, off of like, what, 2 reviews?
I don't know. Probably every stupid movie that comes out. Well, it is kind of funny to see movies like Snow White that just totally crashed, though. And like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
But
speaking of Gareth Edwards, this is not those movies.
Speaking of Gareth Edwards.
Who was speaking of Gareth Edwards?
I was
there you go.
Destiny
was not directed by Gareth Edwards.
Who was it?
That was directed by the guy that did Ford v Ferrari. What's his name? James Mangold.
Never mind.
But speaking of Gareth Edwards,
Gareth Edwards.
Next week we are going to review Jurassic World.
I was thinking Rebirth. Of it because you used to have Creator up there, so my brain still.
Yeah. Gareth Edwards directed Creator.
But next week we get dinosaurs.
If there is any franchise in Hollywood,
next 3 movies that we're about to go through, this is the only one that we're like, cool.
I mean, if there's any franchise in Hollywood that I hate so much, but I will always watch it because it's entertaining.
It's reliable.
It's Jurassic Park.
It's stupid reliable.
I can't even. I'm going to do a whole video essay on this because
Chilton, it's dinosaurs.
I get that. But when you watch Jurassic World, the thing that I hate about Jurassic World is not that it doesn't entertain you, because I think it does.
It definitely does.
It's that every character in Jurassic World is so extremely freaking dislikable. Like, you don't like anybody in Jurassic World, except for Chris Pratt, but that's the only reason.
But that's also because he's got that natural charisma to him.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
And you're kind of like, all right, we have to like this guy.
That's the only reason why I watch any of the Jurassic World movies is because Chris Pratt he has charisma, he's entertaining.
Yeah.
And sure, they're visual spectacles, they're fun, but I hate every single character in that franchise. Every single character is bad.
Bryce Dallas Howard?
She's so bad. Yeah. She's terrible.
I mean, I think she's pretty,
I guess Jeff Goldblum maybe not as much. I think Jeff Goldblum is fine.
Jeff, dude. He's so funny.
He's fine, but you know what? Go see F1. That's what we're going to close off with, is definitely go buy a ticket to go see F1. It's an incredible experience. And that's really what it is. It's an experience. It's not just something you just turn on your phone or you turn on streaming, because this is an experience to be had in a big theater with a big screen with a very loud sound. And
popcorn and a soda,
and with other people, with your friends, family, with strangers who don't talk. That's the thing. It's so fun.
Don't associate.
It's so fun going to movie theaters with other people.
Rid of them.
But
even if it's your mother, get rid of them.
Just don't talk during movies. That's all. Anyways, let us know what you think in the comment. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like our reviews like this, because we got a lot more coming this summer, especially this July, as we have Jurassic World, Fantastic Four, and Superman. We're going to have a lot of reviews. But be sure to let us know what you thought of F1, and we'll catch you next time on Spoiler Alert.